week 3. So we'll be focusing on how to create the grading system, as well as looking into the grading schemes that are there available within the LMS as far as grading tools is concerned. So these are the topics that we'll be touching base on. We'll be looking into how to enter the grades in the grades tool, as well as how to import and export the grade book. Also, additional to that, we'll be looking into how to switch to the spreadsheet view, as well as now being able to manage the grades in the grade tools. Furthermore, we'll also be looking into how to create the new category and item, and also how to create also a grading item, and looking into bulk editings and the categories that are there, and also how to create the grading schemes using the grading tools. So that's the topics that we'll be covering for today's session. Okay, moving along. So we are now launching the Arc Brightspace that we are using as an LMS. So in the previous training sessions that we looked at, we're focusing in terms of how to navigate, and also looking at the nav bar in terms of the navigation as far as it is concerned. So today, as we are starting, we are going to look into entering the grade tools when it comes to giving student feedback and marks in terms of the assessment that they submitted. So we have one of two ways of doing it. You can either navigate to my courses and select the course that you want, or you can come to the select course and then also select the course that you want to navigate to. So the settings, it differs as per the configuration of the institution within the LMS. So in this space, in other institutional LMS, the grading tools is available on the nav bar. So in this case, to navigate to the grading tools, we are going to click on the drop-down arrow on the help to navigate to the course admin. So you navigate to course admin. So once you are there on the course admin, then within, under the assessment category, that's when you will navigate to grades. Then you navigate to the grades, and then this is where we'll be focusing in terms of the training for today. So I just want to quickly find out from you if you managed to log in, and also if you guys are able to navigate to where I am in terms of displaying the screen. Anyone?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Caleb, I think you cannot see that I did send a thumbs up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
All right. So within this space now, we have firstly the enter grades, and then manage, and then schemes, as well as setup wizard. So after launching the grades, then you will land on the page enter grades. So within the enter grades aspect, this is where now you're going to have a visual tour of you entering the grades to the students in terms of their work when they have submitted. So that is then on the first aspect. So I'll start with number one. This one, we have now email part to the students. So you can use this one to be able to send bulk communication or individual communication to the student. So for bulk, what you need to do is to select, and then after selecting in terms of highlighting all student, then that's where you can go to email. So when you click on email, notice these are now the students, all of them who now will be able to get the communication with regard to what is it that you are communicating or sending to them. So you also need to include them also on to, because as you can see, they are now under the BCC, which is blind carbon copy. Then you'll include the message as well and any attachment that you want to have, then you send to the students. So that's one way of doing it. And then the other way is to select the students that you are targeting, which you want to communicate with. And then you go to email as well. Is there anyone who's having a question?
Caleb, so by default they go to the BCC, they don't go to two. You need to manually put them.
Yes, that's correct.
Is there no way to change that?
I will liaise with Mr. Alfred with regard to that in terms of the configuration moving forward. Yes, Mr. Alfred, I see your hand.
Right, thank you so much indeed. Actually, this is a default configuration simply because to accommodate uh, personalized communication. I believe you understand what I'm saying, because remember, in this case, it's all about marks. It's all about numbers. These numbers cannot go to someone else besides the specific student. So that's why it is configured in such a way that it is a blind copy to avoid that same mark or other communication filtering through to other students. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Alfred.
much. Are you answered?
Yes, thank you.
All right, wonderful. And then you could be able to send and communicate to the students. And then now the second part here that we are looking at is within the grade book. We have now the columns. So under the category, the first one that we have there, it's the final grade. So as you now input marks in the student with regard to the assessment, they will contribute to the final mark here. So let me take you through in terms of the column. So here it indicates that for project one, remember the sandbox that we're using is Dial, which is having project one as assessment, the first assessment. Then out of 100, the contribution, it weighs 15%. So the mark that you put there, it will be converted in terms of the final contribution as a percentage added to the final mark. Then again, when you come to enter a mark for project two as well, the mark would be appearing there in that regard with a contribution of 25%. And then now the final summative project, which is 50%. And then we also have the ICE activities, which are also added in terms of contributing to for 10%, I mean to say. So in that regard, for one to be able now to enter a grade, we can look at it in a manual way to say within now the column, then you're going to click on the drop down arrow, and then you're going to the category of enter grades. So after clicking on enter grades, then you will arrive to this page. So within this page now, that's where you're going to uh, enter marks for the student to say, okay, for this student, out of 100, they received a 78, which you're going to input there to say, okay, they have a 78. And then that 78% will now be converted into 15% as a contribution to the case mark. And then also here, that's where you'll also be able to input the feedback. So this is now you entering the grades in terms of the student uh, through a manual way by inputting the percentage for the student. And then we also have another category when the student have also made a submission in terms of you going to annotate the submission that the student have submitted on the LMS. So that's how you go about in terms of entering the grades. Okay, so let me cancel this part. All right. So you are within the space of the enter grades. So that's how you go about in terms of entering the grades. So again, we have the second category, which is now on the export. So here we have a part in terms of you having to export the gradebook. So to export, you click on it, and then by default, it will be in terms of the organizational ID. So it means that it's only going to export the organizational ID and not the username. So you can simply select on both so that it can give you the organizational ID and the username. So username, it will be now the surname of the student and their name, and as well as now their student number. So the user, the organizational ID, it's a number for the student within the LMS without now the name. So again, now by default, it's on points, then you're going to leave it like that. So for any question that you have regarding any other elements, so you simply click on the question mark, and then a dialog box will appear in terms of giving you more additional information in terms of what is it that you can be able to find additional information regarding that field. Then you can click on OK. So notice that here it has selected all of the items, so you can be able to select the specific one that you want or all of the items. So when you export, you have two ways of choosing. You can export it as a CSV or export it as now Excel. So you can click, and then after, then it starts to download. So now it's ready to be exported. So now you have successfully exported the gradebook. So that is now the first part in terms of exporting. So now we're going back to importing. So here is where now you want to be able to import the gradebook. So here it helps you, which gives you an option to create a gradebook structure that include the grade items and even categories using this simple file rather than using the manage grade. So that is how now you go about in terms of importing. So to go about to import, firstly, number one, you're going to select on import. And then after that, you are going now to select in terms of the file that you want to use when you import it. So you're going to click on choose file. And then within there, that's the file that you're going to select. So notice that by default, it wants the files that are having a CSV and then to be able to be uploaded. So another thing that you can choose on is to say create a new grade with an unrecognized item as it is referenced in that aspect. So you can be able to select it as well. So here, then you go to continue. So you have successfully created it in that aspect. So in order for it now to be well, let me go back here. And then you do that. Then you proceed with that aspect in terms of creating that file. So it is able now to go through. So how does it help you? It helps you in terms of now looking at the grading schemes that are already existing. So I'm going to show you in terms of the grading schemes that you can be able to go around them as we look at managing the grades in that aspect. So then we have another category which speaks in terms of how to view in terms of the spreadsheet in that aspect. So there it focuses in terms of now selecting in terms of the category that you can select for the spreadsheet. So in order to do that, it allows you to switch in terms of entering the grades manually. So you click on switch to spreadsheet. And then now this is now where you have successfully switched in that aspect. So once you have done that, then it means that you are able now to enter the marks to the student in terms of how you want them to appear in that aspect. So in order for that to happen, then you will go to the last stage, which is release the final grades for the students. And after doing that, then means that the students will then have the marks being captured and made available to them in that aspect. So now we are going to the second category, which is now in terms of managing the grades within the grade tools book. So which is now the second category. So in order for you to be able to do that, you must be able now to look at the two aspect, which is now creating a new item and a new category. So you can create a category with a name and provide a description to organize a group in terms of the assessments that are related and be able to grade them within the same category in that aspect. So in order for you to do that, number one, you need to click on the drop down arrow under new, then you navigate to category. So once you are there, you need number one to put in now the name in that aspect. So the name here, it must be short and straight to the point. So you can provide the name in that aspect, and then what will be now the short name for that version in terms of the name that you have provided. And after doing so, then we have in terms of the description. So here in that category, we are looking at you being able to enter a grade. So we are having the weighting, which is at 10% in terms of the contribution, to say it contribute up to 10%. So here we also have in terms of the manual part, which now is there to assist. That is the number two, this part that I'm referring to here. And then under that category, it means that you're going to input now in terms of the overall when it comes to the manual entry. So whatever changes that you are able to make in terms of the weight that you want it to be, as well as the distribution of weight. And then for more information in that category, then you click within, then it allows you in terms of giving you additional information in that regard. Then you are able to click on OK. So once you are done, then you'll be able to save and close within that category. So we have looked at in terms of creating now a category. So now we're going to look in terms of creating an item. So to create an item again within the manage grade, you click on the drop down arrow to create a new item. So here, these are now the items that are available. We have the numeric item, and then we have the pass and fail. Then we also have formula and calculated, as well as text. So these are now in terms of the grading items that when you make it available within a particular assessment, when you grade, it is going to give a student with regard to feedback. So under the integrity declaration, we having the category that is being created with this item for pass and fail. So if a student managed to agree to the integrity declaration, it will give them the symbol of pass. So if a student missed any step within the integrity declaration, then it's going to give them fail. So that is now the category in terms of choosing. So it leads to the grading scheme. So number one, we have now the grading category that you select. From category, then we go to item. So here you can leave it in terms of now the numeric aspect. So these are used by assessing a value out of a specific total number of points within. So the numeric here, the grade learner by assessing a value, and then we also have now the select box. So this one is now used in terms of grading the learners by selecting the grade scheme level that best matches their achievement. So you have now created in terms of the one that is looking in terms of the achievement, to say B, it's now a symbol that is attached in terms of 80% and above. So in that category, so it's going to give them that regard in terms of the values. So you can choose which one you want to use in that aspect. So you select on it. So after selecting there, in terms of the type, so number one, it will want you to enter a name. And then from the name there, it will also want a short name. So the short name, you will put it now if you have a long name in terms of characters here, and then you will get to shorten it there. So that is now the second category. So when we are looking now at the third category here in terms of number 3, so this one, it focuses in terms of looking at the category that you want now to focus on. So there is now, in terms of when you click on the drop down arrow, there is none, or you can be able to go and create a category. So in that aspect. And then again, you can look in terms of now the maximum points that are being set there. So these are the maximum points. You can be able to change them. So in this case, it is set on 10. So you can take it to the number of maximum points that you want. And remember, the weighting is also looked in terms of the assessment. If that particular assignment out of 100%, it contribute 25 or 30 or 20 or 15, then that's where you'll also put in the weighting there. And then under can exceed, you leave it, and also on bonus, you leave it as well. So there's more information when you click on it. And then the grading scheme there, you will also leave it in terms of the percentage. So this is now set by the institution when it comes to the percentage wise. And then here, that's where you're able to add a rubric, which will look at it in another training based on the outcome of that particular training. And then we also have the display options. So within there, it helps you to choose in terms of how do you want now the grade book to be displayed when it comes now to the students. And then from here, whatever changes that you have made, you'll be able to click on save and close in that aspect. Okay, and then the last part that we are looking at within the manage grade is now the bulk editing and items. So here, that's where you're going to select in terms of the item and category. So we can see that this one is now project 1, and this is project 2, and this is the summative. So these ones you can be able to group them in terms of the same category and be able to create a category that is aligned to them in that aspect. Then you'll focus in terms of bulk edit. So we have selected those items, which are now 3. So after selecting, then give us in terms of the type, it's having there numeric, all of them. And then these are now the maximum points that are being given or allocated. And then also it's having now in terms of the weight, and then also the default. So it means this is you getting to look in terms of the percentage that is attached there. And then we also have in terms of now the category. So this one, it helps you in terms of creating a category that is aligned to the assessments that are the same when you get to grade them or mark to give feedback to the student. You can also group in terms of the discussions, the ICE activities in the same category, so that when you get to grade the student, you are using the same category when it comes to that. So that is now in terms of you grouping. So you're going to select it in that aspect. All right. So this is now the grouping part. And then once you are done, you'll click on save in that aspect. So we are done now in terms of managing. And then now we are going to the last category in terms of being able to create a grading scheme using now the grading tools. And then here we also have in terms of the association. So this is now the grade in terms of the items that are being associated. So it means that now when we look at project one is being associated to the assignment. So this is now the assessment being associated. So when we look at now project two, it is not associated. So in order for one to be able to associate a particular assessment type, so you go into the assessment on the nav bar, you click on assessment, and then you will navigate to the very specific assessment that you want to be able to associate. So you will click now within the assessment. So after having clicked, let me go back just a little bit. So you click on it, and then within that particular assessment where you have now clicked, and then you can be able to focus on editing the assignment. So under there, we have now the points that are attached there. And then that's where you're able to click now in terms of looking at adding or linking to the existing. So you can be able now to link it to that aspect. So once you link it there, then it will ask you in terms of where is it that you want to link it. So this is you being able to associate the assessment within the grade book. And then from there, you'll be able to click on OK in that aspect. So it can be able to ask you in terms of where is it that you want to be able now to link it in that aspect. So remember, we have also in terms of now the categories that are being provided there. So that's how then you go about in terms of associating. Then once you have done that, then it means that it is now associated when it comes to the assessment. Then you go about it that. So we now have now in terms of the category, remember to go into the grade book. You click on the drop down here arrow, then you navigate under the course admin, and then within there you go to grades. So now that we are here, then we go to the schemes. So here in the assessment schemes, so we have in terms of now the default, which are now set by the organization. So this is now classified as an organizational scheme in terms of percentage wise. So you can be able now to come up with your very own scheme that you want to be able to create. How does it help? It helps you in terms of classifying and coming up with color coding and also the symbols that are attached there. So in order to do that, then you'll click on new scheme. So again, after clicking there, you will apply in terms of the name that you want to be there in that sense. So we can say this one, it is now the letter grade. And then if you want, you can also have now the short name. So here you're going to also look at it in terms of now the symbols to say, number one, the symbol that we have there, we can say F for fail. And then we can also go to symbol D. And then we can say now this one, it is C. So you're going to put in terms of to say under which category is it starting from, right? And then you will also be putting in terms of the assigned value. So here you indicate. And then here, when it comes to the second category of range, then you'll indicate, okay, with this one, you will start from that particular mark. And then going in terms of now. So this is now you putting up a range to say for this one, then you are going to, and then you have now created the category. So as you want, you can also be able to create now a color in terms of that. And then also you look at this one for the particular color to be able to help you in terms of managing the particular students' achievement as well as being able to monitor them. So now you have created, and then you will be able to click on save and close. So this is now your category that you'll be using. So every time you mark a student who then get between this category or which starts from 0, then they will be highlighted in red. So it helps you in terms of knowing that this student, number one, is at risk, and you can also be able to monitor them in that aspect. So you set them in terms of that aspect. Okay, so this marks the end of our training session for today. So I'll pause here if you guys have any question, and if not, then I'll be able to hand over to Mr. Alfred. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Fiona?
You, I'm fine now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I think I was having a problem with my mic. Just a quick question. I will apologize first because I joined late. But I wanted to ask, what will be the purpose of putting the assessment weight on ARC when it is also done on SIS? Are we not repeating things in that manner?
Okay, so with regard to that, I'll give a response and then hand over to Mr. Alfred for more clarification. So this one, as it is now the LMS or within the ARC space, it helps you in terms of monitoring the student within so that it can be able to track with regard to at risk first before you can even go to SIMS in that aspect. So that is now the purpose of having that so that it able to help you in terms of knowing the student in terms of their case, where are they following in that aspect. So I'll pause there and hand over to Mr. Alfred for more clarification in that aspect.
Well, actually, you have already explained it so well, Caleb, in terms of that. And also remember, colleagues, in terms of these trainings which are conducting at the moment, it's also a matter of exposing you to some of the elements, if not all, so that at least the moment you'll be managing your specific module, then you can always look at some other components which you might think are relevant. I mean, as far as managing your specific course is concerned. Thank you. I'm not sure if you might have any other following questions, Fiona, there.
Yeah, I think I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, colleagues. Is there anyone who's still having any question? Ephraim?
No, thanks, Caleb. My question was on, I see you were creating, I don't know if are they links or assessment. My question was based on these formative assessment that normally, get created, especially when you reflect to Arsalan, your assignment, your POE, your part 2, your project, your practicum, and so forth. Are lecturers going to sort of, engage in those links, or you were just showing us where we can create our own sort of assessment and put the weighting and so forth, or lecturers are going to administer those links for formative assessment?
Yes, it's a both in that aspect. Thank you for the question. So we have now the first category in terms of the links being provided for formatives. And then the link for formative, then it's now a matter of associating it, making it associated to a particular assessment to say it is a link for project one. However, it is not associated within the grade book. So you're associating it in the grade book. That is the first part. And then with regard to the second part of the question, so you can be able to also create additional when it comes to your own ICE activities that you want to be able to administer to the student, not only limiting to the ones that are already there within the module as a default, looking into categories such as quizzes, any type of ICE activity that you want to create. You can also look in terms of how to link it to the grade book as well. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah. So what will happen if lecturers don't associate those assessment? What is the worst scenario that could happen then?
With that regard, I'm not really sure what could happen unless if maybe Mr. Alfred can provide the clarity in that regard.
All right. Thank you so much, Caleb, and thank you so much, Ephraim, for your question. With regard to that, remember, whenever we are associating, let's say, a component within a learning management system, we're just trying to categorize, which helps us to manage probably through headings. You know, for example, I mean, if you are looking at project POE, maybe you are classifying that as an assignment because you are not classifying it as a test. So that's where categorization comes into play, so that at least you will be able to see it through under a specific. In other words, it's a heading which helps us to be organized.
Okay, understand. So that means lecturers, they are going to sort of categorize or manage their assessment as opposed to what is happening in Arslan, because now everything is categorized. They just go there. By default, it's a POE, it's an assignment, it's a task one, task two. But now you as a lecturer, you must take it upon yourself to categorize those assessment, if I hear correctly.
All right. Well, remember, as I have indicated, we are demonstrating in terms of functionalities within the LMS, but the submission links, remember, the submission links will come through, I mean, as far as upon the creation of a specific course through SIMS, where everything, like if you have your specific module, if that specific module does have POE, then obviously POE will come to appear within the gradebook. In other words, I'm trying to avoid using the word automatically because obviously it's data which is obviously a data input from the other platform, which will pull through integration to ARC, which is Brightspace. So those ones, they will remain the way they are, being managed by, I can say, through integration by AIT. So they will come through. If a specific module have got project one, project two, those will come through already under correct specifications or
Okay,
under
100%.
correct categorization.
Okay, so we don't need to. Okay, it's fine. I just wanted to understand that our lecture is going to tamper with those that came with integration, or by default they will be categorized. So yeah, I think you have answered me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, colleague. Is there anyone who's still having a question before we adjourn the meeting? In the absence of questions, I would like to thank you all for availing yourself and making time to join the training, and also to encourage you further to continue practicing as we are having this training session on a weekly basis, so that you can be familiar with a particular topic that is being covered on that particular week. So as you all have access to the sandbox, continue to practice on a regular basis and explore more functionalities that are available within the LMS, and that will create a sense of familiarity so that you can be able to know what is available and what is not available. And additionally to that, in terms of what other suggestions you can also be able to come up with to better improve the LMS once now there is a actual rollout coming next year. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will now hand over to Mr. Alfred.
Right. Thank you so much, Caleb. I don't have anything to add since you have already exhausted all the components which we were anticipating to cover during this session. Thank you so much. If we do not have any question, then for today, that's all what we wanted to look at. Have a wonderful day further, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.